Hi, my name is Billy. I'm with the CDL services with CDLTestTruck.com. That's CDLTestTruck.com. We're located up here in Allen, Texas. We're at the McKinney driver's license office up here doing a Airbrake test on a Class A vehicle. The Airbrake test is a three-part the road test. You have air brakes. If you don't pass the Airbrake test, then you don't move on to the next part of the test. There's air brakes. Then you have your backing, which consists of straight line backing, and then your parallel park, and then of course your road skills test. The Airbrake test is one test that you'll have to perform in order to be able to advance on to the other part of the test. Now, we've prepared a 10-step test to be able to pass the Airbrake test with the examiner. There's 10 things that you have to memorize. People always make the biggest mistake by trying to study it the day before or studying it the morning of, thinking they're going to pass it, and they end up failing. So it's always important to study the Airbrake test before you go do it with the examiner, because when you sit in this seat right here, the biggest problem that I see is people get nervous, and then the examiner ends up failing somebody for not passing. The first thing you want to do when you sit in the seat here is you get in the truck and you want to put your seat belt on. That's one of the most important things right there when doing an Airbrake test or being in the truck. When you're sitting in this seat, you want to make sure that this is completely on. Anytime you're doing any part of the road test or sitting in the seat, the examiner will let you go all the way through the road test and do a great job and tell you what a great job you did, and at the end they'll say you did a great job, but you got to reschedule because you failed because you forgot to put the seat belt on. So put the seat belt on, number one rule. Second thing we're going to do here is go over the two things that people fail on when they're doing the Airbrake test. Of course, the number one thing is, they forget it, but number two, there's two other things that they fail, and that's to when you start the truck up and you build up air pressure, they forget to turn the key off and put it in the on position. That's very important. When you turn the truck off, you put it in on position. It's very important also with the brake valves down here. They forget to press them in after they put the key in the on position. What we're going to do right now is we're going to start the truck up, and we're going to build up air pressure to 125 psi. You have to build the air pressure up to 125 psi in order to do the Airbrake test. What we're going to do is the air pressure, if you look right here, there are 3 gauges. You have a brake pedal gauge, which when you press the brakes, it actually moves and tells you how many pounds per square inch you're actually using with your foot pedal. The lighter you push it and the harder you push it, the more pounds per square inch. The top gauge up here is a primary gauge. The bottom gauge is a secondary tank gauge. You have 2 tanks on the truck, primary, secondary. What we're going to do is we're going to run the RPMs up to about 1200 RPMs. We're going to allow the air pressure on the truck to build up and to 125 psi. Then we're going to start the road test. The Airbrake test is very simple. Again, it's 10 steps that you have to do with the examiner in order to pass. If you do not pass this part of the test, you do not advance on to the rest of the test. It's very easy, very simple. Again, there's 2 parts we're going to go over here in a minute that people fail on, and hopefully when you watch this video and you see this, you will not be one of the statistics of failing, because you'll understand what the road test is, and if you watch it over and over again, it'll make it a lot more easy to pass. We're looking for the gauges here to get to 125 psi. When they get up there, you'll hear the air pressure valve pop. That's the pressure release valve. It's fixing to pop here in a second. Now that it has popped and we have reached 125 psi, we're going to come over to the key, which is on the left side of the steering wheel. We're going to turn the truck off. When the motor comes to completely being off, we're going to take the key and we're going to put the key into the on position. You will see the dash lights come on and the computer clear out. When the computer clears out, you'll hear a buzzer. If you don't hear that buzzer and the computer doesn't clear out and everything's blank on the dash, you might want to check and make sure that your key is in the on position. So remember, when you're doing the test, turn the truck off, turn the truck on into the on position. Don't start the truck, just put it into the on position. The truck should never be running during the Airbrake test, but just with the key off, put the key on. And then we go to our next step down here with the tractor and trailer valves. The tractor valve is the yellow valve and the trailer valve is the red valve. The two places where people make a mistake, again, forgetting to turn the key off and putting it in the on position, and they forget to push the Airbrake valves in. That's a very important step. So remember, turn the truck off, put the truck into the on position, press the valves in. I always tell people, key off, key on, turn the truck off, key on, press, key off, key on, press, key off, key on, press. So if you remember to turn the key off, turn the key on, and press, then you've done the two steps that people most likely forget and they fail. You make sure that these valves are pressed in when you're doing the test. Now what we're doing is we're waiting for the pressure. Once you push the valves in, you want to wait for the pressure to stabilize, and you can tell that by when the valves stop hissing. When they stop hissing, then you want to take a watch or a clock or something, and you want to time it for a total of 1 minute, and you're looking for no more than 3 psi of air loss in that 1 minute system. Where you're looking for is right here on the air gauges, to make sure that in that 1 minute period that you don't lose more than 3 psi of air pressure. Now I tell people, hey man, don't be super trucker and think you're going to be the next Smoking the Bandit and try to break all the records, because you're not. You want to sit here and you want to just go with the flow and say, you know, you want to time it, make sure it doesn't lose more than 3 psi in the 1 minute period, because if you try to be super trucker, the examiner say, oh my god, I think it's moving. The examiner's going to come over and go, what? And next thing you know, they're going to say the truck's faulty or whatever, and you're going to have to come back up and stand in line again. So unless you want to come up and stand in line again, just go with the flow. Once that 1 minute's up and you see that you've lost no more than 3 psi of air pressure on your primary secondary tank, then we're going to look at the top gauge up here, and we're going to apply 90 psi of pressure. Now we're going to hold that 90 psi of pressure for 1 minute, and we're looking for no more than 4 psi of air loss in that 1 minute period. We're looking right here on the primary gauge and on the secondary gauge, making sure there's no more than 4 psi of air loss. Again, I tell people, don't be super trucker and go, oh my god, I think it's moving, because you're going to have to come back and stand in the line again. Once you've that 1 minute has expired, then you'll release the brakes. Now we're going to check for the low pressure air warning system, which is the lights that are down here at the bottom of the gauges. There's a red light at the bottom of each gauge. These lights will come on when the air pressure hits around 60 pounds of air pressure. So what you're going to do is you're going to, with the brake pedal, you're going to quickly press the brakes and release air pressure. When your low pressure air warning system comes on, it should happen around 60 psi. Now we've got our primary tank on, so we're going to go for our secondary tank, and our secondary tank comes on about 60 psi. Now we know that the low pressure air warning system is operating properly. Now, next step is we're going to check our tractor trailer valves down here to make sure that our emergency brakes come on. If we lose air pressure and the air pressure comes on and drops below 40 psi, then the valves between 40 to 20, they'll pop out and activate the spring brakes to stop the vehicle, so you don't run into somebody or hurt somebody or hurt yourself. So we're going to press the brakes continuously until the air pressure drops, and as we're pressing, the valves pop out 40 psi. Now we're in December of 2011. It's kind of chilly out today, so you're going to notice that when you drive one of these vehicles, you do an air brake test, that your air pressure is going to pop when it's cold. They're going to pop closer to 40 pounds per square inch, and when it's colder, when it's hotter out, they're going to pop closer to 20. So in the wintertime, they pop up around 35, 40. When it's summertime, they'll pop more down around 20, 25, 30, in that range there. So now that we're we've made sure that our brake valves have popped out, one thing you want to check too is in the summertime, as it gets hotter, this valve right here will pop out before this valve right here. So if you're if this valve pops, you're doing an air brake test, continually pump and make sure that this valve pops out before it goes past 20. If you do that and they both pop out within the 40 to 20 range, you know that they're operating properly. This valve, the red valve, should always pop first before the yellow valve. If this valve pops before this valve, you've got a problem with your air brakes. You always want to make sure the red one comes out or they both come out together at the same time. Now what we're going to do is we're going to check and make sure the air brake system, the springs held. We're going to start the truck up. And we're going to go back here. We're going to run it up to about 1200 RPMs. And when we run this up to 1200 RPMs, we're going to start building air pressure. Now again, we've got primary tank and a secondary tank. And this truck is a T2000 Kenworth. It's got a 600 horsepower Cummins in it with an automatic transmission. We're pulling a 28-foot pup trailer. One thing you're going to notice is it takes a little while longer for a pup trailer or a truck that has a pup trailer hooked up to it to build up air pressure. And it's because on a 53-foot trailer or 48, they normally don't have to feed another trailer behind it, so they don't carry an air tank on that trailer. With a 28-foot pup trailer, if you see like FedEx, UPS, Saya, anything that's pulling double pups down the highway, those trailers have air tanks on them to supply air to the brakes. When you have a primary and secondary tank on a truck and that's all you're filling up, you're going to fill it up a lot quicker. With having a trailer that has an air tank on it, that's 3 tanks you have to fill up, so it's going to take a lot longer. One thing that they don't do at the driver's license office is check the governors to make sure that the governors or the air pressure the air pump's building up air pressure fast enough. That's one thing they don't do. They don't time it. One thing you want to do is in the manual it does have a checking system to be able to make sure that it's building up pressure properly. You never drive off, you never do anything unless your air pressure is sitting at 125 psi. You always want to wait for that to build up. The next part of the step we're going to do is we're going to wait for this pressure to build to 125. Once the air pressure release valve pops off at 125, then we're going to put the truck into gear. We're going to slightly tug against the brakes to make sure that the brakes are holding. So what we're doing is we're waiting for the air pressure to build up, and as soon as it gets up to 125 psi, we will hear the air pressure release valve pop off. So it's almost there. If we look at this line, when it gets even right there and right there, it's going to be right up to 125. Let's wait for that to happen. Okay, now that the air pressure release valve has popped off, we've got 125 psi. We're going to test the spring brakes to make sure that they held. So what we're going to do is we're going to put the truck into drive. We're going to turn away from the curb. We're going to lock the truck into gear. And then what we're going to do is we're going to lightly let the clutch out till we feel it pulling on the brakes. Now that we felt it pull on the brakes, the truck didn't roll anywhere. Now what we're going to do is we're going to release the brakes and we're going to drive forward about 10 feet, 12 feet, and then we're going to come to a firm, complete stop to make sure that the truck's not pulling to the left or the right, and to make sure that it's stopping properly. Then we're going to put the truck into reverse and we're going to back up, and we're going to back the truck back up against the curb, and we're going to chock the wheels against the curb for the next person to get in and do the air brake test if we're doing multiple people on the air brake test. So you want to chock it up to the curb. Always make sure that you put the truck in neutral, and always make sure that you pull the air brakes out. You never want to release the clutch from here unless the truck is in neutral. You never want to get out of the truck unless the air brake valves are out. I hope this helps you with your air brake test when you go to the driver's license office and you're doing your air brake test with the examiner. Remember, the two things that people fail: they forget to turn the truck off and put the key in the on position, and they forget to push the air valves in. So remember, key off, key on, press, key off, key on, press. At the CDL Test Truck, we do have a road test that we do offer, a rental for $450. If you say that you saw this video online and you want to rent from us, you tell us you saw it, we'll give you a $200 discount, making it $250 for your road test. Again, my name's Billy. I'm with the CDL Services. I hope that this video will help you with your road test. And happy trucking.